So for us, Tantra is an advanced teaching, and we only practice it in the context of that we can maintain very specific states of consciousness, and that we have very fine tools for the expression and the receiving of energy in a balanced way. Okay, so we'll say progress. It's progressive, right? So we start with the Nuat. We start with the Nuat, okay, because the Nuat primarily focuses on the macrocosmic part, but at the same time, I'm kind of doing an end around in the Nuat, and that I'm constantly giving little hints and more than little hints on the development of consciousness. And another word for consciousness, because you know what? I know if I raise, in fact, why don't I just do it? Okay, does everyone know what this word means, what consciousness means? Does everyone know what that word means? I have some idea you think you know what that word, raise your hand if you do. All right, so that's pretty normal that people will say that they know what that means, okay? The first level of consciousness, and actually for a long time, you could work for 20 years and never get past this level, which was why, for example, in my school, when I studied with Reusi Dottan, I didn't get myself lesson number 1 on Tantra until I've been living in the school for 4 years. Okay? Living in the school for 4 years. Why was that? Because I was messed up. And I was messed up right here. Messed up in consciousness. And the way he interpreted consciousness was right here. Sai, ka, lo, ji. I know that's a bit, it's not a four-letter word, but it's still a bad word. Psychology. And it's because I had no sophisticated understanding really of psychology. I didn't really understand the role of psychology in my own brain, and I certainly didn't understand the psychology of anyone else. Not really. I thought I did, but I didn't. And that's really a typical thing that I also encounter as a teacher, that I often have students who think they understand the meanings of the words, or they think they understand what we mean, but over time it turns out, well, actually they didn't. Okay? Because when I'm using language and I'm speaking, every word that I say, you're interpreting according to your past experience and your past acquisition of definitions. Okay? And actually the way I use certain words, I actually have different definitions, because I have what are called school definitions. In other words, how we define the word in the context of our school, okay? And that's actually can be, in some areas, quite different than what Webster's has to say. Really, be quite different. All right, so what I'm looking for is a couple of things here. One, in the Reishi Yoga with the Nuat, and why I practice the Reishi Yoga and things that are related to it, is I'm looking for the key to unlock Anahata. I'm looking for the key. I'm looking for keys. And the key to the consciousness that's required to unlock this is actually in your mind. It's psychological. It's actually a psychological key. Okay? And the greatest impediment to you holding that key in your hand, okay, of holding that key in your hand to unlock this, the greatest impediment to that is negative emotion. Negative emotion. And so, for example, one of the reasons why it took me a long time to actually be able to begin to practice the true Tantra was because I had no control over negative emotion. And because I had no control or limited control, and it was intermittent. You know, like some, I had good days, I had bad days. You know, and it's very hard to have trust of a teacher that in the morning you really like them, and in the afternoon you really don't. You know, and on Monday you really like them and love them, and on Tuesday you want to club them like a baby seal. And on Wednesday, you're kind of ambivalent. You're neither here nor there. And also the same with all the people that you have to practice with, and all the rest of your life. In other words, there's no emotional consistency, because it's the emotional consistency that actually controls at any given time your level of consciousness. And it's your level of consciousness and your ability to function at a certain level of consciousness that controls your ability to access directly the gate, okay, or the loam of the heart, of Anahata chakra. And that access to that is what controls your true access to your potentiality for manifestation. We're all godlike beings, folks. We're all godlike beings. But we don't actually express ourselves and manifest ourselves as if we are. Okay? And this is, and you know, it's as important to understand why your life or my life or anybody's life doesn't appear to be the life of a godlike being, as it is to understand that I am a godlike being. And a lot of teachings, you know, it's all about this heaven and earth, it's all about going inside and learning to love yourself and you know, develop your inner power, your inner appreciation. Okay, that's just really wonderful. Okay? But from the point of view of why we are here, see, why are we in stress adaptive, human biological transformational machines, flesh bodies? Why are we here? We're not here to develop this connection. We already have it. We just don't know it. So all the exercises here are about reminders. They're in the form of reminders. You know, I'm not really teaching you something that you don't know. I'm just reminding you of something you've forgotten on some level. And why did you forget it? Because you became influenced by negative emotion. The negative emotion put a limitation on your consciousness, and because your consciousness is not expressing itself at a high enough level, okay, you no longer have control of the machine, this transformational part, all right? We can come at it from two different directions. We come at it from the point of view of psychology, because of this loop here, psychology, consciousness, consciousness, psychology. And we come at it from the point of view of, well, since I'm in this stress adaptive human biological transformational machine, then I can actually tweak the machine to also get a spark. But on some level, these two have to come together. The manifestation part of the macrocosmic orbit and the consciousness part, which is the equivalent of the energy gas pedal, the manifestation gas pedal, okay? And so I have to get these two things to work together, right? So in our school, so we go Nuat first, we go Reishi Yoga and various kinds of exercises. We go psychology and consciousness studies, okay? Shorthand, I can give you a clue, is this bridge between Tantra and Fourth Way. And then we go from psychology, we go to integration for Tantra and working with the Kundalini. And the very, very last thing that we really start working with is the idea of the sex or the life force. Okay, and part of this is the same problem that we find in GMOs, genetically modified organisms, and that kind of research, and that this energy, of course, equals life energy. This energy equals life energy. So what happens when we skip this and try to do an end around and go straight to the manipulation of the life energy without having raised the consciousness, without having developed sophistication in our own internal psychology, without learned how to control the speed or pace or power of our energy, both in expressing and receiving information, and without having conquered the material world and the manifestations that we're sitting on, and we just skip all this and jump right over here to life. This is why I've got a dozen yoga books inside the house, ancient yoga books, that say that you just simply, as a person who has not made all of this progress, that you really have to be careful over here. And the reason why is if I have the ability to give life, I also have the ability to what? To take it away, or to deviate it, or to mutate it, or to harm it, or to cause irreparable permanent damage, irreparable permanent damage. So if I'm out in the material world and I'm a scientist and I'm like, you know what, I don't know about psychology and consciousness and about manifestation. You know what, I'm just going to skip right over here and make life. I'm just going to start monkeying around over in the test tube over here, and I've got godlike qualities, but I don't have, because I'm not working on myself, because I'm not working on my consciousness, because I'm not working on my psychology, it never occurs to me that I don't actually have the conscious capacity to be able to anticipate the end result of what I'm going to create. And it could be really, really good. Yeah, it could be. It could be just wonderful. It could also be an atom bomb. And it could be the equivalent in forms of life force. It could be the equivalent in forms of life forms. Okay? And so, anyway, that's part of our little circuit there. All right, everybody stand up. Now let's go from the blackboard